Okay, so I am on the decision table from our very first exercise. I need to navigate to the machine learning area, and the first thing we're going to do is add a model to the rule application. So I'm going to click Add, and I'm going to add a new endpoint. An endpoint is essentially a connection where data can come into and go out of our rule application. I'll click Add New, and because we're logged into our catalog, centralized authentication knows what trials you may have assigned to you. Now, I'll have plenty. You may just have one. So navigate to the one that has models in it that you want to work with. I chose the one that I've been working with today, and sure enough, here is my Workbench account. Let's go ahead and make this our Telco Churn XAI Workbench. So we know that this is that endpoint. I'll click Save. And what's happened? Well, we can come up here and make sure Telco Churn is selected. In your trial, you'll have more than one model, so make sure Telco Churn is selected. But what do we see? We see precisely what the model is going to expect from an input perspective and what it intends to output for us. We also see this thing include rationale. Please make sure that's checked. That's going to give us that rich extra data that we saw in that graphical representation in the previous video. Now what we need to do is sort of stitch up where the inputs and outputs should go within our rule application. This is just telling us what. We now need to tell it where. And we've got a customer field or a customer entity, which if we go look, we see this customer entity, and we can see all the different types of fields that this model is expecting. So I'm pretty confident going ahead and connecting customer to this model. I apply the machine learning model, and in your rule application, we've already built out all of the other fields that it would expect. If there were some that were needed, it would update and add those for us. So we're going to go ahead and say, yes, we want to make these changes. There weren't any required. And now things are stitched up from an entity to model perspective. So that's it. That's all we needed to do when we've added a model to our rule application. Now let's go ahead and add it to our rules. So we were working in the start before. There is a rule set here called Predict Churn Potential. And this rule set is empty. That's because it's waiting for our prediction. So we're going to right click on this, choose Add Machine Learning Prediction. And since we only have the one machine learning model in our rule application, it helpfully presented everything, and it connected the fields to the expression or the entity fields within our rule application. So believe it or not, we're all set to go. Let's test this rule application now, but instead of using our invalid customer, navigate to and open the Predict Churn Yes JSON file. All right, we've got our customer number 9 information, this yes prediction that we should see. So I'll go ahead and apply rules. And we see a few things going on here. It says this customer is likely to churn, and if we come down here, there's this prediction rationale. This holds the information that we saw in XAI Workbench. If you recall, originally we had a churn of 1 with a score of 0.7366, 73.6% likely to churn. We saw some threshold information, and then we get even more stuff. We get the predicted classes. In this case, it's either churn or not. So we get those divvied out for us. And then the graphical representation It is all parsed out into information that now we can use to make decisions and act on. But that was it. Maybe 5 clicks and we've added a machine learning model to our rule application and added a prediction to our rules. In the next video, we're going to have some fun acting on this information that comes back.